I am back. Rodgers for Black and White Network. If you're new to the channel, punch the subscribe, like, comment, share this out. You guys know the drill. We're going to talk about Joe Rogan. As we know, Joe Rogan has sort of launched himself into the stratosphere as being one of the what I always refer to as the rise of citizen journalism. I mean, look, Joe Rogan's intention was never to become part of the media, and I still don't really consider him part of the media, which is a good thing. Being part of the media now is not a positive. But somehow, some way, Mark Cuban has decided to throw him into the mainstream media foray, which is sort of interesting when you consider the fact that, I mean, Joe Rogan is not following the mainstream media narrative. Joe Rogan had on RFK Jr. the other day. Of course, vaccines came up, and we know how Joe Rogan feels about vax. We know how RFK Jr. feels about vax. Well, Dr. Peter Hotez got himself all worked up in a lather. Now, in case you don't know, this guy is a massive advocate of the jab. And boy, he was bent out of shape because Joe Rogan had on RFK Jr. Very outspoken, looking right at you, Biden, because RFK Jr. is running on the Democratic ticket against Joe Biden. Of course, the Democrats are trying to, the DNC in particular, is trying to keep Joseph Biden insulated from having to debate RFK Jr. You want to talk about a slaughterhouse. I mean, that debate would be a dumpster fire rolling downhill on a tire fire. I truly, it would be a destruction of epic proportions. And I would love to see it. So, the other day, Mark Cuban came out and said going woke was great for business. All the while, a bunch of people turned and looked at Mark Cuban going, Bud Light, Target, Cracker Barrel, do we want to keep going? Because Bud Light, $30 billion. Target, $15 billion. I haven't even checked lately on Target to see their destruction. Cracker Barrel, I don't know yet, but I know the backlash was swift and furious online after they decided to put that Pride rocking chair out. So, Mark Cuban came out and said, well, in the long run, going woke was good. Now, his Shark Tank brethren, Kevin O'Leary, co-host of Shark Tank. Mark Cuban's on there. By the way, if you don't know who the hell Mark Cuban is, NBA owner, not governor, damn it. NBA owner, owns the Dallas Mavericks, and he's one woke some bitch. Hard to believe this guy and Donald Trump used to be real tight. How did that happen? That's back when they liked Trump. Just saying. So, Mark Cuban is now butthurt because Joe Rogan platformed RFK Jr. And we also got Aaron Rodgers in all of this because Aaron threw his name into the hat, and we've got the tally of the monetary pot because Joe Rogan challenged Peter Hotez to debate RFK Jr. and said, I'll throw out $100K. Oh, well, shit. A bunch of people got involved, including Patrick Bet-David, Tim Pool, and Andrew Tate. Yeah, and it's up to $2.62 million. Yeah, are you going to debate RFK Jr. or not? Are you going to keep dodging it? Or are you going to keep raising the amount? Because he's come out and said, well, it's going to take $50 million to get it done. You puss. Okay, let's get to this. This is Breitbart and the New York Post. Cuban accuses Joe Rogan of becoming everything that's supposedly wrong with the mainstream media. Oh, all because he pissed on your little vaccine narrative. Okay. And I'm going to try to curb around what the narrative actually is, but you get the point because of the damn platform I'm on right now. Billionaire NBA owner Mark Cuban has thrust himself into the discussion of Joe Rogan's offer to host a debate between COVID vaccine skeptic RFK Jr. and Dr. Peter Hotez, who supports vaccines and have dubbed Rogan, quote, everything wrong with the mainstream media. Well, Mark Cuban jumped to his Twitter account to attack Rogan and the Twitter chief, Elon Musk. Cuban accused Rogan and Musk of being the mainstream media. Stop it, dude. You know better. You know, This is kind of like the leftists trying to hijack the term snowflakes. Have you noticed that? They've tried to hijack that. They've also hijacked the term democracy as well. Oh, our democracy is at threat. Nah. Hell, the LGBTQ is trying to hijack the S in there. They've added an S. No, we're keeping the S. That's for straight. So anyway, they're trying to hijack the mainstream media narrative. Oh, well, now it's people like Rogan and Elon Musk that is part of the mainstream media. No, they're exactly the polar opposite of the mainstream media. Your mainstream media is always going to be the CNNs, the MSNBCs, and looking at you, Fox News. And the list goes on with all of your, Huffington Post and the Daily Beast, and the list goes on. Called them bullies for trying to get Dr. Hotez to debate the skeptical Democratic presidential candidate. Quote, Joe, you and at Elon Musk at Twitter are the mainstream online media, and your platforms have become everything supposedly wrong with the mainstream media. You are driven by self-interest, just like the mainstream media always has been accused of. And you have both earned that right. You busted your asses to be great at what you do, and you earned all you accomplished. But don't lie to yourself and all of us and tell us you are different. You aren't, Cuban said. Look, Rogan he's never changed his stance. Okay? We remember they tried to cancel Rogan. All right? When COVID was going on, remember? They tried to deplatform him. They went after Spotify. They tried to get Spotify to remove the podcast. You know what Spotify did? And I give them credit. They went back and said, you know what? Joe Rogan's got like 12 million listeners a day. He's arguably the biggest podcaster in the United States. His reach is unbelievable. It's like 60 million a week. You know what we're not going to do? Lose all that money by deplatforming Joe Rogan. So go bleep yourself. And remember all the wokes, the entertainers. What was it? Crosby, Still, Nash, and Asshole came out and said that they were pulling their music off of there, and Neil Young got all butthurt. You know what I'm talking about. That was a massive story, actually. Well, anyway, he's never changed his stance. RFK Jr., I mean, he's been steadfast. The NBA's owner's response came on the tail of Joe Rogan's recent offer of $100,000 to charity of Dr. Hotez's choice. If Hotez would come on his podcast to debate the coronavirus vaccine with RFK Jr. It was an offer that Elon Musk supported and highlighted in his own tweets. Cuban went on to say that pharmaceutical companies have, quote, saved who knows how many lives with the invention and distribution of vaccines. Quote, I'm not saying there aren't a lot of F-ups things about pharma, Cuban wrote, but to ignore that the same industry has saved who knows how many lives is bullshit. And you know it. It's also disrespectful to all the doctors, researchers, medical professionals that dedicate their lives to saving lives, like Dr. Hotez and the 800,000 plus doctors in the country that believe vaccine saves lives. Oh, he's big triggered. Big triggered. Trying to bully Dr. Hotez is ridiculous. You have producers that will prepare you and get control of the conversation. At Robert Kennedy Jr. also has a staff ready to prepare him. And these topics are what he talks about in every speech. Cuban did not address that Hotez began the name-calling when he accused Rogan and Kennedy of engaging in, quote, misinformation. In a June 17 tweet, Hotez accused Spotify of failing to stem Joe Rogan's vaccine misinformation. So he brought this up 5 days ago. Do you know how long it's been since the Joe Rogan Spotify vaccine controversy went down? It's been like 2 years now. It's been a long-ass time since that happened. Truly. In case you're wondering, let's just take a look. But free speech is free. So, Rogan, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. And many more are baiting vaccine expert Peter Hotez $2.62 million to debate Robert Kennedy publicly. Andrew Tate, $500,000. I mean, Rogan, 100,000. Patrick McDavid, 100,000. Tim Pool, 100,000. Wow. I mean, look, there's some names on here. So, Hotez wasn't finished getting his ass drug in all this. Enter in the New York Jets quarterback. God, this season could be so interesting for the Jets. Because he got involved, and as we all know, Aaron Rodgers has his own special version of I'm immunized. I love it. Aaron Rodgers and Dr. Hotez are going a second round. Dr. Hotez, a staunch COVID-19 vaccine advocate, heavily criticized Joe Rogan for having anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. on his popular podcast and subsequently rebuffed challenges to participate in a public debate with the presidential candidate. Rodgers, also notably a skeptic of the COVID-19 vaccines, has previously made it known he's supporting RFK Jr. for president. And on his Instagram story Tuesday, Rodgers took a shot at Dr. Hotez, overlaid above a reel in which Hotez has previously appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast and admitted, quote, not being as cautious with my diet as I should be. Rodgers wrote at RFK Jr. would mop this bum. I think what Aaron Rodgers is getting at is mop the floor with this bum. And they say that about boxers, of course. Dr. Hotez responded to a SI article that captured the Rodgers Instagram story, which has since expired. Disappointed he took a shot versus me this week, and he goes on to talk about all this vaccine data. This is so unnecessary. I have no bad thoughts for Aaron. I needed to speak out in 2021 to save lives. 200,000 unvaccinated Americans needlessly perished during those Delta BA1 waves in the last half of 2021, early 2022. I detail this in my new book. I see the @Texans play at the Jets this year. Wow. Dr. Hotez previously went after Rodgers in an appearance on CNN in 2021 when Rodgers was under fire in the media for the revelation that he was unvaccinated, as he had previously told reporters he was immunized against COVID-19. I've always contended that Aaron Rodgers should not have to justify to anybody publicly what his vaccine status was. It was always my issue with the media, and of course, I mean, they went after Aaron Rodgers and tried to obliterate him. I bet we did maybe 20 videos surrounding that over on the main sports channel, and they tried to cancel Aaron Rodgers. Social media, the wokes on social media, you got to remember this was pre-Elon Musk Twitter. Oh, they tried to disintegrate Aaron Rodgers. And, of course, it started trickling out after the fact that it was sort of interesting. Wait a minute, Kirk Cousins and Lamar Jackson are also not vaccinated against COVID-19. What is it that NFL quarterbacks know that some of these other folks don't? But the whole point was, I thought it was hilarious that these people thought they were entitled to know and were outraged because Aaron Rodgers decided to use a certain term. And we know, everybody knows, Aaron Rodgers is very much into the supplement side of seeking medical treatment. And look, I'm sort of a big supplement taker too because I work out, I lift weights, and supplements just sort of go along with it. But, I mean, we know he takes it much, much further. He's speaking at the psychedelic conference, you know. So, Aaron Rodgers is just a different kind of cat. Well, Dr. Peter Hotez didn't like that a bit. And Mark Cuban coming out, defending this dude, getting mad at Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. Really, Mark Cuban, you're not seizing an opportunity right now to look brave, stunning, and courageous, especially in the eyes of the NBA? I mean, arguably the worst run sports league in all of pro sports, where the actual athletes carry all of you owners balls around in their purses and they call the shots and you've got no power? It's baffling to me. I mean, Mark Cuban has successfully somehow hatched himself out to look like a total idiot these days. He truly has. And look, I understand he's built successful businesses, this, that, and the third. But some of this stuff like wokeness and vaccines and all that ideology, I mean, it has poisoned some of these people like Mark Cuban. It's like it shut their brainwaves off. It's baffling. And to accuse Mark Cuban and Elon Musk as being part of the mainstream media. No, you know what that is? That's fear. It's fear by Mark Cuban. It's fear by Dr. Peter Hotez that they're losing their power and they're losing their ability and they're losing their reach. Because why? CNN ratings are dog shit. Nobody's listening to that crap anymore. People are turning off the mainstream media. They're listening to Joe Rogan. They're going to the Post Millennial. They're going to the Daily Wire. They're going to the Blaze. Glenn Beck. Ben Shapiro. These guys that created these alternative platforms. Dan Bongino. Steven Crowder. We know the drill. And they're fearful of that. Because those voices have become very loud. And Rogan's voice is very powerful. Elon Musk's voice and reach is very powerful. And, well, Aaron Rodgers is just hilarious. And people like Mark Cuban are in a panic over that. Oh, my God, they might listen to Joe Rogan instead of Anderson Cooper. Okay. What's the problem there exactly? Question mark. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network supporters. Wow. Mark Cuban he's the conductor of the crazy train these days, is he not? Jesus. Peace. I'm out.